Mile, owned by the Flaxman Holdings Limited, bred in France by Famille Niarchos, 3-year-old filly by Celtic Swing from Yoga by Riverman. The first filly since Ridgewood Pearl in 1995 to win the mile. Royal Heroine and Mies twice also beat the boys to win the mile. She's also the third French-bred winner of this race. She paid $12.60, as you see. Touch of the Blues was second, and Century City ran third. That exacta $76.80, a $1 exacta. Let's go down to Trevor to analyze the race. Trevor, we heard Jerry Bailey said she had a tight trip the entire way.
Well, you know, Tom, when they put 14 on the mile on the turf at Santa Anita, you just know that's going to happen. They were in real tight towards the rear. Funny enough, here is Jerry Bailey right here on 6 Perfections, and Kent DeSormo's not in this particular shot, but he too had to come from far behind here, and you'll see Jerry Bailey here. When the gods are with you, they're really with you. Just gets a perfect run through. What a magnificent filly, though. She's never been out of the first 2 in 10 career starts. An English Guineas winner, so you know that she can run. Here's to Touch the Blue on the outside. Touch of the Blues, and of course in the white cap at 6 Perfections. They almost had identical trips, but the filly outkicks the colt here, and it is 6 Perfections just getting the perfect trip, perfect ride from Jerry Bailey, and she goes on to win convincingly. Great run from Touch of the Blues, and how about that huge long shot Century City coming out of nowhere, flying late, had to settle for third, but a big run from him. Let's go to Kenny.
Much, Trevor. Kent DeSormo here. He and Jerry Bailey put on a European-style riding clinic, turning down the lane for home. And Kent, as you were about an 1/8 of a mile out coming into the turn, you actually appeared to be a little bit ahead on Touch of the Blues, ahead of the filly that won.
Yeah, I got the tendency on the filly, and position I need. All I've got to do is hold her at bay, but I came with a full bore speed, just running at my speed, and the filly hadn't just got out. As I approached this turn right here,
you're in the middle of the picture in the blue and white.
I'm at I'm full speed ahead right now. I've just gotten a half a neck on this filly inside of me, and there she goes. She just turned it on and found a gear we couldn't find. What a minute, really. So all credit to Dale. This colt was perfect today. He's just a pleasure to ride, and multi-talented. Unfortunately, that filly ran too good today.
Well, congratulations. You get a second place. I know you'd rather be in the winner's circle, but you were sportsmanlike. Congratulating Jerry Bailey.
Well, he rode a nice race as well, and he was well mounted.
All right. Good luck the rest of the way. Kent DeSormo aboard Touch of the Blues. He said he liked that early fractions. He knew it set up for a closing style. He was just hoping it would be his. Mike?
Well, 6 Perfections is the winner in the mile. The Niarchos racing manager, Alan Cooper, Pascal Barry, the trainer, and a great ride, of course, by Jerry Bailey to make the presentation. President and CEO of NetJets, Mr. Richard Santulli.
Gives me great pleasure for the 2nd year in a row to present you with the NetJets Breeders' Cup Mile Trophy. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's a
Absolutely.
great privilege to win it.
Absolutely well done. And as he said, for the 2nd time in a row, Pascal Barry brings last year it was Dome Driver. This year the filly does just an impressive winner in a tough field.
The filly beat Dome Driver for half lengths 2 months ago in Paris, and this filly is exceptional. She always runs very well. She has very good turn of foot. She came here, so it's a very long way. The track is a bit hard for her. The weather is very hot, and even with everything, she does the maximum.
I mean, it's unbelievable. She's now had, what, 10 races, never worse than 2nd?
Yes. and the jockey rode a perfect race. She has a very bad draw. He stay quite behind. He give her a chance on the other opposite, and magnifique. I'm very happy.
Who have you got in the mile next year?
Maybe her.
Maybe her. And Jerry from the 13 post.
You will be fit next year.
Yeah. So we got you a jockey commitment, everything. How about that? From the 13 hole, there was a lot of traffic problems there. You said you had a pretty good trip, though.
Yeah, the biggest concern is to try and get over. We had a meeting of the minds at the hotel last night, and he said if I needed to, I could place her mid-pack instead of out the back. And that's a lot of options to give me going into the first turn. I was able to get pretty close to the rail.
And she was flying at the end. You had some horses really running down the stretch here.
Tremendous turn of foot she had, and I knew they would be running at me as we turned for home, but I wanted to save as much kick as I could because I did place her in the middle of the pack.
6 Perfections. She did it. Great job. Pascal, congratulations again. 6 Perfections, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Mile, Tom.
All right, Mike, she did indeed quicken off the fastest opening quarter mile ever in the 20-year history of the Breeders' Cup Mile, 22-1. Irish Warrior soaring free for internet, finished 6th, Designed for Luck. Special Ring a disappointing 8th. Perfect Soul Oasis Dream couldn't carry that speed, refused to bend to Karchi. And Peace Rules, the early pace setter. Bobby Frankel has had 2 favorites so far, and so far has failed to record that 24th Grade 1 win this year. And Frankel will be favored again in the next race, the Breeders' Cup Sprint, with Jerry Bailey aboard Aldebaran. He wins on 6 perfections and is closing in on his own world's leading mark of single-season earnings. $22.8 million his runners have.
Bob Costas back at Santa Anita Park for the 2003 Breeders' Cup. When I got my wake-up call this morning at 7 a.m. West Coast time, the operator said, "Good morning, Mr. Costas. The expected high today will be 102 degrees. I don't know if we're there yet, but we're definitely on our way." It's already been a busy day for Hall of Fame jockey Jerry Bailey, and next up for him, it's the Sprint, where he'll ride Aldebaran. Earlier in the jockey's room, I spoke with him and fellow rider Mike Smith, who'll be aboard Blues the Standard in the Sprint. Here it is. All right, Jerry Bailey, you've won the last 2 Breeders' Cup sprints. Your horse looks dead fit. He's the informed closer. The only knock would be he hasn't gone the 6 furlong distance. What do you think?
It is a question mark. Traffic's a question mark. Pace is also a question mark, but I think there'll be pace. Traffic, I got to get extremely lucky that I don't go too wide.
Jerry says he thinks there'll be pace, Mike, but a lot of people say, hey, the Sprint, it's one out of the gate.
It certainly is, and that's probably the main concern for my horse. He tends to act up in there at times, so we've been schooling him a lot. He's been a lot better. My biggest fear is just that he doesn't act up and get away good, because that's the important thing in the Sprint.
In a way, this is so wild, it may have some sort of connection to rodeo. You going to draw on any of your experience riding in bush races back in New Mexico as a kid?
Well, I'm just going to sit very still on him. Like I said, he's pretty hot-blooded in the gate. You just want to stay real quiet on him, and hopefully he gets away running. If he does, I think you're one to reckon with.
Between the two of you, 8 of the last 10 Eclipse Awards. Jerry, in fact, the last 3 in a row. I know the late, great Willie Shoemaker had an influence on each. A quick comment about Shoe.
Well, he was my idol growing up. He was born about 30 miles from where I grew up in El Paso. A great guy to be around and come up under.
Mike?
I just miss him tremendously. Matter of fact, I talked to him 5 days before he passed on, and we were talking about Azera, and he was telling me to keep my head up, that I'll win one of these. And then a few days later, he passed on, so I'm going to really miss him.
Mike, Jerry, thanks. Good luck today.
Bob. All right, Bob, as the fans crowded close to the rail in the paddock to take a look at the horses for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And Bobby Frankel shut out so far. He has Aldebaran, who is the favorite, 2-1 favorite. But it is his first career start at 6 furlongs. Good news for all you male chauvinists out there. There are no fillies or female riders in this race. The boys will have to get into the act this time. Zavada 25-1, Shake You Down 9-2 as you see. Blues the Standard 15-1, Yankee Gentleman 11, Captain Squire 17-1. Aldebaran continues to be the betting favorite for Bobby Frankel and Jerry Bailey. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Tom. Jeff Mullins doing some work here on Captain Squire, getting him ready. He'll break from post position number 13. He has his blinkers off today. That's one of the equipment changes. He was second the last time out here in the Ancient title. 2 for 3 over this track. This is a track that he likes. And Mullins earlier this week said he knows he's got a long shot, but he's willing to take a chance. Hi, Jeff.
How you doing, Kenny?
I'm good. So you're doing, you've made a change here. The blinkers come off. You got an outside post position. I noticed you were putting the tongue tie on him. What other changes, and how do you feel about him right now?
Well, we lightened up on his training. He's one of those horses that he don't rebound that quickly off these races, but we lightened up on his training quite a bit, and he's really come to life here the last 3 or 4 days, and hopefully we got him on the mark today.
And you've got the outside post, so what about that 13?
Well, I hope it's lucky 13 today. So I really don't see it as a disadvantage to this horse, because it's from the outside, it's kind of a downhill slope to the rail, and the horse has got enough speed that I think that will be forwardly placed, and I think we got a pretty good shot.
Okay, good luck to you, Jeff Mullins, who sends out his first Breeders' Cup starter. Now let's go over to Bob Newmeyer.
You're looking at trainer Scott Lake. He's a master claimer. Since he claimed Shake You Down, he's won 6 of his last 7. The story here about who had him before the current owner, Robert Cole, as we take a look at Shake You Down. This horse was originally owned by a couple of New England lads by the name of Craig Hand and Tim O'Donohue. Tim was an orphan, and after this horse started running, he did a family biological search of his father, and believe it or not, his father was Luigi Gino, a horse trainer from Maryland. So they sent the horse to Gino, and they won races in Maryland. But the guys had a little down in their luck with their personal lives, needed a few bucks. They took a chance of running this horse for a claiming tag in Aqueduct, That's where Lake sprung, claimed the horse for $65,000, and he and his owner, Mr. Cole, have won over $500,000. So today, somewhere in New England, a couple of original owners, Craig Hand and Tim O'Donoghue, are watching and wondering about what might have been. Tom, back to you.
All right, Bob, good story. And Charles, a little unusual this year that all the sprinting strength seems to be in the East. Usually California is the home to the speedsters.
Well, you think of it that way, but Shake You Down has been one of the dominant sprinters in the East. Scott Lake, as Bob just said, claimed this horse. He has been the king of claiming in the last few years. Scott Lake's been training 12 years. He's got 165 horses. He puts 135,000 miles a year on his car driving around the East Coast tracks. And you remember, he almost upset the whole sprint last year with Thunderello at a huge price.
Another interesting note this year, out of the ordinary, the sprint has never included more than 5 3-year-olds in the field, and there are 6 of them entered this year. Let's check in with Mike. Sorry, Charles.
Thanks, Tom. And Bobby Frankel so far is 0 for 2 with 2 favorites. I believe Peace Rules went off favorite. I know Sightseek did. I tried to talk to Bobby. He was not in the mood to talk right now. He saddles Aldebaran in here, and Aldebaran's trying to do something no horse has ever done, and that's win the sprint without even racing at 6 furlongs. He has had a race at 6.5 furlongs where he finished second. He loves 7 furlongs. If this race were at 7 furlongs, I think he'd be a stand-up, but he's going to have to really fly at the end to do something he's never done before, and that's win this race at 6 furlongs. So right now, Bobby Frankel 0 for 2. Trying for another favorite here, Tom, with Aldebaran.
All right, Mike, so Bobby Frankel getting his game face on now. And Charlie, before I cut you off there, you had something to say?
Well, I was just talking about Aldebaran. He is a horse who's going to come from off the pace, and we always think of the sprint as such speed, but most often it's won by horses coming from off the pace to pick up the pieces after the silly early fractions. Lee de Justice, Elmhurst, Cardmania, horses like that. And if Aldebaran can get up close to the lead as he did in the forego, he was there. He was right there at the head of the stretch, but he's going to have a really perfect trip to be able to do that.
And the jockeys making their way out to get their final instructions from the trainers. Look at Gary Stevens. See him in action in the sprint. And Jerry Bailey, he didn't have to change colors, did he? The Flaxman Holding silks that he wore riding 6 Perfections. He's riding for Bobby Frankel here.
Of course, it'll be up to Jerry to judge that pace and make his move.
Let's listen in.
They said she's the best over here. I believe it. All right. Hey, John. Where we at? All right.
Bobby Frankel's not one to give too many orders, so there may not be much to hear.
Well, he's got 2 good riders. John Velasquez there on the left rides Midas Eyes, who is also a Frankel trainee. And Steve Asmussen with Pat Day. Pat Day is the leading money-winning Breeders' Cup jockey of all time. And, of course, Steve's brother Cash was the American jockey who went to France and led the jockey standings in that country for many years, now retired. And the Asmussen family, their father Keith, Cash, and Steve have quite an operation going based in Laredo, Texas. Jerry Bailey looking for back-to-back wins, and Frankel looking for that elusive 24th Grade 1 victory of the year, which would be the all-time record. And Bailey a leg up on Aldebaran. And none of them, even though the temperature has risen steadily, Charles, none of them seem to be overly sweating at this point.
Tom, touch wood, so far all of these horses have coped very well. The temperatures will, of course, now continue to rise through this early afternoon time until the last race is run. So while we've been lucky so far, let's hope the worst is not ahead.
Midas-sized Frankel trainee 7-1, Aldebaran 2-1, also trained by Bobby Frankel. Everybody else beyond that, double digits, as you see. And the horse is about to make their way out to the track. Great Notion is the 10-horse, Tyler Bays. And Cajun Beat with Cornelio Velasquez, his second Breeders' Cup ride. That's Captain Squire and Alex Solis. That's the horse trained by Jeff Mullins. Spoke spoke with Kenny a few moments ago. And they go through that tunnel on their way to the track. One last little bit of shade before they hit the sun for real. Let's go to Kenny.
Yes, I could just mention something about Ethan Mann. All right. Pat Byrne is the trainer of Ethan Mann, the 7-horse coming in here, Tom. And Terry Finley, a retired Ranger Army captain, is the man who has put together the West Point Thoroughbred Syndicate. There's 20 owners of this horse, Ethan Mann. He's been trying for 4 years to get to a Breeders' Cup. This is his first Breeders' Cup horse. He comes off a second-place finish in the Phoenix Handicap at Keeneland in Kentucky. And I spoke with Terry just a minute ago. He's hoping that they'll make it there, and he hopes they have a wide-angle lens because he said 17 of the 20 owners with their wives are here for this race, Tom.
And Charlesy?
And we might point out that Pat Byrne, the trainer, has one of the best winning percentage averages in the Breeders' Cup. He's only made 6 starts and won 3. So watch out for him.
There is Ethan Mann, those black and gold colors, Army colors for West Point Thoroughbreds, partnership put together.
He apparently grabbed a quarter in his last race. It bothered him through the stretch.
And the sprint with $1 million purse, grade 1 race for 3-year-olds and up at 6 furlongs. Number 1, Zavada. Gary Stevens rides the 3-year-old colt owned by Michael Tabor, who made his fortune in English betting shops. His horse 5th in the ancient title here his last start. Number 2 is Shake You Down, first Breeders' Cup ride from Mike Luzzy. This gelding, the supplemental nominee. Bob talked about him earlier. Cost them $90,000 to start this horse. He's won 3 graded stakes at 6 furlongs since he was claimed for $65,000 in March. 3 horses Posse, a 3-year-old colt ridden by Pat Day. Best races have come on and off track. He's 1 for 4 at 6 furlongs. Number 4 is Valid Video, a Florida-bred 3-year-old who's making his first start against older horses. His first start since August. His only sprint distance defeat was on a sloppy track back in May. Number 5 is Midasides, the Bobby Frankel John Velasquez team. 3-year-old faces older for the first time. He's been off since June with a foot problem. He has speed, but's never run at 6 furlongs. Number 6, Aldebaran. It's the other Frankel horse, named for the star that represents the eye in the Taurus the Bull constellation. Usually likes those little longer distances, never run at 6 furlongs, but Frankel thinks he should be sprint champion regardless of what happens today. 7 is Ethan Mann, the long shot, making only his 3rd start after a 16-month layoff, and as we said, 2nd in the Phoenix Breeders' Cup his last out. The 8 horse is Blues the Standard, claimed 5 different times, twice for $10,000 last year, but since Ted West took over, he's been in the money 8 of 9 and has won 7 races here at Santa Anita. Number 9 is Private Horde, the first Breeders' Cup horse for Jason Lumpkins and trainer Joe Kane, who keeps this colt at his farm in Russell Springs, Kentucky, 100 miles from Churchill Downs. Takes a step up in class today. The 10 horses, Great Notion, Tyler Bay's up. 3-year-old colt who's riding a 5-race losing streak. He was 6th in the Phoenix at Keeneland. Number 11 is Cajun Beat, another 3-year-old who was impressive in his last race, the Kentucky Cup Sprint at Turfway. Cornelio Velasquez has the mount on Cajun Beat. Number 12 is Yankee Gentleman. Julie Crone rode him his last 2 starts, but P. Val up today because Valenzuela is said to be the best gate rider in California. Yankee Gentleman finished 4th in the ancient title. And number 13 is Captain Squire, the first Breeders' Cup starter for the very successful Jeff Mullins. We heard from him earlier, taking the blinkers off despite a 2nd in the ancient title with them. He said he wants Captain Squire to see what's coming. That's the field of 13 for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's see if our handicappers can pick a winner. Still looking for that elusive first one.
Well, we really are, Tom. 0 for 3, and this isn't an easy spot to try to get the first win. Matter of fact, I hate to tell you this, Tom will really holler at me for this one, but in the 10 times I've picked this race on NBC, I've had 1 winner in the sprint.
It's about your normal percentage, though, about 10%. But we got to get off the schneid here, don't we?
Exactly.
I think this is a specialist race for 6 furlong horses. That's why I'm going for Shake You Down. Again, he loves the distance. There's a lot of speed in here, but he's the quickest, so I call him the speed of the speed. But Mike Luzzy from the 2, Mike, cannot make any mistakes. This horse absolutely, positively must break sharply today.
He has to be in front or very close to it, and I just think the pace is going to be torrid. I think Valid Video could be part of the pace, but I also think that he can be rated just a little bit, so I went for him. He's got what I call tactical speed. He's a pretty good price in here. I like the fact that you talked about it. He's 3 for 3 at 6 furlongs, so you know he can handle the distance. We talked about Aldebaran. If it was 7 furlongs, you could probably like him, but 6 furlongs he can win, but I just have to take a little shot on a price horse in here that I think can be running from just off the pace, and that's Valid Video.
Yeah, and I think as you watch this race, look for a horse out of the left part of your screen down the stretch that will probably be Aldebaran. The question is, can he get up at this 3/4 distance? I think his work is cut out for him. But there he is with Jerry Bailey and Frankel again looking for that elusive grade 1. If this was 7 furlongs, he'd be even money.
Yeah, you know, he's the best horse in here. Look at all his grade 1s. He's the best horse in here. But how often have you ever seen a horse in a big race do something they've never done before? And he's never even raced at 6 furlongs. It would be a great training feat.
But in a way, the unexpected has happened. They
That's
said Julie
right.
couldn't win from the 14. They said 6 Perfections couldn't win from the outside. And they say Aldebaran can't win at 6. So maybe they'll upset the apple cart in this race as well, Tom Hammond.
All right, Bob, what surprises me is the fact that Mike had a winner, even though he's only had one in picking the sprint. Aldebaran, the Cybercappers don't care about that never raced at 6 furlong note. Shake You Down and Valid Video, their selections as well. Log on to NBCSports.com and make your selection. Aldebaran, the favorite here. Welcome back to Santa Anita. It's 83 degrees now, but Bobby Frankel doesn't appear to be sweating too much, looking for that record 24th grade 1 win. That would be the international record. He already has failed to win with 2 favorites. He has Aldebaran, who's making his last race before retiring to Darby Dan Stud in Kentucky. And he also has the 3-year-old Midas Eyes. 2 good chances here in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And here are the odds at the moment. Zavada 30, Shake You Down 7-2, 7-1 Valid Video. Midas Eyes at 8-1, Aldebaran 2-1, Ethan Man at 22-1. Blues the Standard 14, Private Horde 25, Great Notion at 50, Cajun Beat 21, Yankee Gentleman 10, and Captain Squire is 14-1. So the Breeders' Cup Sprint, 6 furlongs, the most dominant distance in American racing, 3/4 of a mile, 1 turn to the finish, and the break essential. You have to get out of the gate well here to have a chance to win most times at 6 furlongs. Let's go down to Mike Battaglia for a comment.
Well, Tom, Blues the Standard as really a blue-collar horse in here. This is a horse that's been claimed no less than 5 times in his career. Actually been claimed for $10,000 twice, believe that or not. Ted West plunked down $50,000 for him back in December right here at Santa Anita, and he has had a banner year. He's won 4 out of 9 and over $395,000 since West claimed him for the $50,000. He loves Santa Anita. 11 starts here, 7 wins, 2 seconds. He loves the distance. No worse than third in 9 tries at the distance. So if this horse can get home or even hit the board today, what a story for an $10,000 claimer. Blues the Standard right now on the board at 14-1.
Ted West done a great job with him.
You'd never know to look at him as quiet as he was standing there that he's really a tough customer. He wears a muzzle. He's been through several grooms and several lead ponies, but he's a hard-hitting horse in the afternoon.
Loading in the gate for the $1 million Breeders' Cup Sprint here at the World Thoroughbred Championships. Valid Video, jockey Edgar Prado into the gate. And number 12, Yankee Gentleman on the outside with P. Val, who's already won a race today. And as they continue to load, the Breeders' Cup Sprint up next. Tom Durkin will have the call of this 6 furlong dash.
There's Aldebaran, and you're not going to see him very much in the early going. Comes from way out of it. In the gate. And they're off. And Cajun Beat breaking alertly for the lead. Captain Squire right there on the outside. Ethan Mann is there. Great Notion under a hustling ride early. Midas Eyes up and close to the pace. Down toward the inside, Zavada is right there. Valid Video and Shake You Down, and it's a scramble for the lead among them. And Great Notion had to check out of there. Blues the Standard down toward the inside. Then farther back, it's Posse. Private Horde 7 lengths back to the latent power of Aldebaran. He's 15 lengths from the lead, but he's got a sizzling pace to run at. 21 seconds flat for the opening quarter. Fast and furious here in the sprint, and Shake You Down comes away with the lead. Cajun Beat right there. Now he pokes his head in front. Zavada toiling, trying to stay with those 2. Yankee Gentleman looms the thread right there on the outside. Midas Eyes is now 5th toward the rail. Captain Squire under a driving stick. Aldebaran still about 10 lengths for the lead, trying to weave his way through the field. and Shake You Down and Posse. And Cajun Beat. Look at this time here, 107 and 4. Sensational time here in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And Cajun Beat, the winner here at a big price this afternoon.
Indeed, Tom Durkin, the heat wasn't the only thing scorching today. Look at that time. 107.95 after a first quarter mile in 21 seconds flat. Cajun Beat, one of the half-dozen 3-year-olds in the field, a Grand Slam gelding. Cajun Beat, ridden by Cornelia Velasquez, trained by Steve Margolis, the upset winner. And let me just take a peek at the tote board. Can't even find it. 22-1, 22-1 on Cajun Beat in the second Breeders' Cup ride by Cornelio Velasquez. Donna's with him.
Cornelio, you just got your first Breeders' Cup win. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, the owner, the trainer. Give me a lot of chance. I'm happy.
This is Steve Margolis, is the trainer's first Breeders' Cup win. Also, what are you going to say to him when you get back to the back to the unsaddling?
No, the good trainer. He good condition now.
I think Cornelio's awfully excited. Cornelio, do you know how fast you went? You just went 107 and change on this horse.
Yeah, he last time he worked good. A lot of chance. He told me a lot of chance in the race. Thank you.
All right, Cornelio, congratulations. Very happy, and he can hardly talk, Tom.
No doubt. It's only his second Breeders' Cup ride, and he gets the money in the sprint. And for Steve Margolis, the first Breeders' Cup horse he has ever saddled wins the $1 million sprint. Here he is out of the center of the track, Captain Squire, with the early lead, and Cajun Beat gets the money in the sprint. There's the winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, Cajun Beat, a 3-year-old gelding by Grand Slam from Becky's Shirt by Cure the Blues, bred in Kentucky by John T.L. Jones Jr. and H. Smoot Falgren, owned by the Padua stable, John and Joseph Hurricane. And here are the prices on Cajun Beat, the upset winner of the sprint, paying $47.60 to win. Blues, the standard, was second. Shake You Down was third. The dollar exacta were $380.10. Well, Trevor Denman, Cajun Beat surviving the fastest early fractions in Breeders' Cup history. 21 flat for the quarter, equal to fastest, and 43-1 for the half mile was the fastest ever in 20 Breeders' Cups.
Remarkably fast race, but I tell you what, a remarkably clean race. Invariably, when you line 13 of them going 6 furlongs. Here's Aldebaran, the favorite. Now let's watch him. Obviously, Jerry Bailey does not want to go to the front here. He's going to break just a little behind them. They're much too fast for him. He has no chance of going with them, but Jerry Bailey's quite happy with that. You can see he doesn't even try to push him. He just rests his hands down on the horse's neck and says, you pick up your own momentum when you want. He's dead last down the back straight. You can see he's making hard work of it early. He got just slightly interfered with coming for home. Here he is right here, and you can see obviously with that many horses in front of him, he doesn't have clear sailing. A slight ease. It did not cost him the race. Now Jerry Bailey's looking for somewhere to run, and you see he is running on. He's picking off horses one by one here, but unfortunately for him, Cajun Beat was long gone already. Gets a good run through down at the rail. Did not have to hesitate from the 3/16 pole home. He is closing gamely, but like the guys said before the race, he probably wants to go 7 furlongs and the 6 furlongs. He just could not get to that extremely fast Cajun Beat, who goes on to beat Lose the Standard. What about him? $10,000 claim.